Hi, this is Josh, and you're listening to Zoosh Unzipped, a podcast where we talk about critical issues and only facts, nothing but facts. Hey, welcome to Zoosh Unzipped, where we talk about facts and only facts. And I'm your host, Zoosh. And for today's episode, we'll be talking about something that is relevant and rampant, especially in our today's society. And it is something that is related to social media and multimedia as well. And I know that a lot of you have heard about this term, and this term is actually called influencer or influencer marketing. And especially with the rise of TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, YouTube, and other social media platforms, we've heard a lot of famous influencers like influencing the lives of many people as well. So, for this podcast, we'll be talking not just about the positive impacts, of course, but we'll be diving deeper into the psychological and societal impacts of influencer marketing and how influencer marketing, of course, is driving sales to businesses. Like what I've mentioned, we'll not just be talking about the negative impacts, but also the positive when it comes to businesses as well. All right, so let's get into it. Of course, let's start by acknowledging that influencer marketing has become a dominant force in the digital economy. Like if you remember, since the pandemic, influencer marketing has grown exponentially, as lockdowns pushed people to spend more time online. And from what I've read, according to Statista, the global influencer marketing industry was valued at almost 13.8 billion US dollars in 2021 alone. And of course, here in the Philippines, influencers have been known to shaping trends, setting lifestyle standards, and more importantly, influencing the buying behaviors of millions of Filipinos. Well, I admit, I've been watching some influencers and they have also influencing my buying behaviors into buying a certain product as well. But of course, while this might seem harmless, and of course, research from 2020 to 2024 reveals a much darker side. So let's look at how influencer culture is affecting the self-image of Filipino youth. Of course, this is actually important because when you say influencer, it shapes the perception, the thinking, the ideology of a lot of people, because we are looking at someone that tells us to do something and of course to perform something that we might think that is actually good for our mental health and our daily routine, right? So of course, in a recent study, it shows that young people are spending more time on social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where they are being bombarded with images of perfection. So, of course, from a study published in 2022 by Frontiers in Psychology, it also showed that teens who frequently engage with influencers are more likely to compare themselves unfavorably, which leads to lower self-esteem and increase in feelings of inadequacy. This is something that I'd like to emphasize as well, because social media, for me, my idea is that it has already becoming a facade for most of the people. Even myself, I admit, I want to portray myself in social media as perfect, and those are actually some of the things that most of the influencers are actually showing. We all have heard about Ivana Alawi, Heart Evangelista, for their glamorous and luxurious posts, something like that, creating inspirational culture that promotes unattainable beauty standards. While a lot of people have admired these influencers, but of course, there will always be an underlying effect, and that is comparison, insecurities. And those are, comparison insecurities. Well, from what I've read, according to a report by Rappler in 2023, so Filipino teens who follow beauty and lifestyle influencers are more likely to engage in unhealthy habits such as extreme dieting, excessive skin treatments, and even cosmetic procedures to achieve the perfect influencer look. And these pressures are compounded by the fact that many influencers use filters and editing apps, further distorting their reality. And this is something that I can actually relate to because I have been watching some influencers as well, like especially with skincare. Like I admit that before I also have like insecurities when it comes to my skin, and one of my goals is to make myself like look pleasing or appealing to a lot of people. So this is just one best example how influencers have been affecting a lot of people. And what I'm trying to say is, even though they are inspirational, but at the same time, we will never notice that we are already comparing ourselves to other people, making us insecure and making us do a lot of unhealthy habits. All right. And of course, another major issue is that consumerism. Like, influencers today don't just sell products, they also sell, like, lifestyles and other stuff. So, one example would be the rise of unboxing content. Get ready with me, something like that, in YouTube and TikTok. And this has like encouraged young viewers to like adopt consumerism mindset. So this research as well, from what I've read in Global Web Index in 2021, found that Gen Zs are the most likely generation to make impulsive purchases based on social media recommendations. Like influencers with their endless product endorsements contribute to a culture of materialism where self-worth is often tied to what you can buy, right? And of course, here in the Philippines, in 2022, a study has also been conducted by the Philippine Star and found out that 78% of Filipino teens admitted to purchasing products after seeing them promoted by their favorite influencers. Well, I can actually totally relate to that, and that's actually funny. Well, of course, on the bright side, it will affect or it gives a positive impact to businesses as well. And lastly, let's talk about the mental health. Of course, in all those examples, what I'm trying to emphasize here is a constant barrage of, idealized images and products for influencers. And it doesn't just affect like self-image, but also like impact on well-being. Like another report in 2020 by the Journal of Adolescent Health, excessive social media use, especially influenced by interactions with influencer content, can increase anxiety, depression, and feeling of loneliness, especially in young people. These, of course, makes them feel like the fear of missing out or drives many youth to stay online longer, trying to emulate the seemingly perfectly lives of influencers. And this, of course, leads to sleep deprivation, poor mental health, and even addictive behaviors that link to social media. Of course, as influencers, they need to maintain that perfect image because first of all, how will someone buy a product if it's not, appealing as well? If they are not seeing the effects of that product in a certain influencer as well. So there have been a lot of manipulation just to make people believe that they are living the perfect lives, perfect skin and everything. What can we do? What can we do to address the dark side influencer marketing? And of course, first, ethical and transparency as well. So here in the Philippines in 2023, there is a regulation by the Philippine Open Commission that requires influencer to clearly label sponsored content and disclose partnerships, ensuring that the followers are aware when a product is being promoted for profit. It is also important to practice digital literacy education in schools, like teaching young people how to critically engage with social media content and recognize the curated nature of influencer content that can help reduce the negative effects of self-image and consumer habits. Well, of course, in conclusion, influencer marketing has become like an integral part of our lives. It is clear that, of course, even though it has negative impacts, like especially in mental health, self-image, and the entire well-being of the young people, but it also affects a lot of businesses. So for this, it is important that there will always be, critical or ethical approach when it comes to social media. And a lot of people should be educated well so that they will know how to deal with what they're seeing online, and that will also protect them. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Zoosh Unzipped. Stay tuned for more insightful discussions on pressing issues. If you have any topics you'd like to discuss or explore in the future episodes, feel free to reach us through email. Until next time, stay informed, stay critical, and stay safe.